The Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you from SideQuest Studios, this is The Simpsons Index, episode 279, and the 10th Treehouse of Horror-thon. Joined here for this spooky podcast, here as always, except when he's not, except when he's also watching you from the shadows, BT Calloway.
Right.
And joining us all the way from scary Queensland is Diana Green.
I want to suck your blood.
And yes, thank you for joining us for this podcast where I've definitely prepared all my material and intros ahead of time.
Thanks for that. I posted that I was doing this on Blue Sky, the social media that some people use. And it got a bunch of likes when I told people I was doing this. And they're going to listen to that and tune out as soon as I say my first line. So,
No, stay. We got some great commercials coming up.
yeah.
So yes, of course, we are doing our not so much regular Treehouse of Horror-thon, and we're actually going back. We're redoing one later on today because, you know what, we reviewed that first episode, within the first 10 episodes of the podcast before we did the Treehouse of Horror-thons, before we,
we knew what the hell we were doing.
That's it. It was the wild Westworld times back then, and we were just making it up as we go along. But yeah, I thought... especially that classic episode in particular warrants a revisit under the structure of a horror-thon. But before we do, we've got a new one to get through. And actually, before I do, Diana, I think this is your first time reviewing a Treehouse of Horror episode with us?
Yeah, it's my first time. I basically begged you to make me do this one.
Well... I do like to cater episodes to guests, and especially if they have knowledge in subjects that, me and BT might not. So it was very appropriate.
I know 2 of the 3 things that this references, so...
Actually, so do I. How many did you know, BT?
1.
Hey,
I know of the other 2.
Well, I mean, at least we've got some crossover knowledge that we can probably... It'll be very funny if there's one thing that we don't know, but we'll get to that when we do.
I think we all know the same one.
Yeah.
The Simpsons.
Yeah. the fourth podcaster in the room.
Yeah, and the concept of books. I think we all know what a book is.
I mean, I've heard of them. I mostly know them for that Bob's Burgers episode. Books are stupid.
I've never watched, I've never gotten into Bob's Burgers, and I hope that doesn't come up at all during this.
Who's to say what will and will not?
You should check it out. It's all right.
I watched it, I started watching when it was new, but then I just didn't keep up with it, and then it's been however many years it's been, and I'm scared to go back and revisit a show that's still this popular.
I think it's a delightful show that is just so reassuringly reliable.
Yeah. As we said, it's never hit cubic levels of greatness, but it's a very reliable silver.
That's it. Especially lately as they fucking put Bellatro on iPhone, and I'm getting into that all over again.
Bellatro
Man, chucking on some Bob's Burgers and Bellatro doing that double screen shit. Oh. But anyway, less about how I'm enjoying my downtime. Diana, what is your history with the Treehouse of Horrors? Are they some of your favorite episodes, and what are your favorite segments? All those questions.
Yeah, like most people, I've always enjoyed the classic Treehouse of Horrors. I don't have any deep connection with it because, Halloween was never a real big thing in Australia until the last few years when we realized we can make money from it.
Definitely. Are you much of a horror fan generally? Fan of horror movies or shows? Or
I'm starting to get into them. I'm actually reading a horror book right now, and I've even got some horror manga. But I used to never really get into horror. I've seen some classics. Alien is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
and I've seen some of the the slashes, from the 70s, 80s.
Bob's Burgers actually do an excellent Alien parody in one of their triple vignette episodes. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's
Peele,
okay. Yeah, Jordan Peele. I love his movies. I'm trying to get more into horror, but I'm one of those people that's pretty squeamish. So it's a genre I never got in with, but lately I'm trying to step outside my comfort zones. Just experience a whole lot of stuff I never got into.
Well, yeah, I think the idea that there can be gore in a horror is probably enough to put some people off. When there's lots of things that aren't.
But there's lots of different types of horror. But with Treehouse of Horrors, I generally like them, but then very rarely like my favorites. Although the season 6 one with the shinning and stuff, that is still like easily top 10 episode.
Well, sorry, that's the other classic one we're redoing, but you get the other classic one.
Nice.
The other.
Okay. I get the less good one, but it's still good. It's still good. But if I was to pick to be a bit weird and controversial, if I was to pick like a favorite Treehouse of Horror that isn't the obvious one, it might be the first Treehouse of Horror from season 2. It's a much slower, creepier pace, and I kind of like that.
And I enjoy that one a lot.
And James Earl Jones making not one but 2 characters.
Teresa.
Yeah, you got Savick the Preparer.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for a comeback.
Yep, we all are.
No, I mean, especially, I remember when we did Treehouse of Horror 1, and we'd done a couple of horror-thons by that point, I was just like, man, I was expecting this one to be a bit more like quaint and remember back then, and it's like, no, they actually had some creepy, scary shit going on in there. And
a butcher knife, Lisa.
Bad Dreamhouse is so deeply unsettling.
I love Bad Dreamhouse. That is my favorite of the 3.
Yeah,
the Raven's good, and I think it's Ship of the Damned, the Twilight Zone one. That one's also good.
Yeah, but like, especially with like teens and 20s Treehouse of Horrors, it just became this is an excuse to parody 3 things, and like they weren't necessarily horror, and
Avatar, timely Avatar reference when that happened.
I was just about to bring that up as one where they could conceivably turn that into a horror. It was just like a lackluster parody, and like, I gotta say, I do have my criticisms of this new one that we're about to review, but I will say that I appreciated that they were going for some more unsettling and creepy and horror vibes in this one.
Yeah.
Well, let's hook into it with some preamble. We just watched Season 34, Episode 6, Treehouse of Horror XXXIII, aka 33. First released in October of 2022, was directed by Rob Oliver, and each segment was written by someone different. We'll go through them as we do. General thoughts, hey, what did we think?
I really like this. I was gonna say I love it, and I don't know where I land on that love it or really like it. But this is excellent, especially by the standards of when it came out. But even if this came out much earlier in the Simpsons run, I would still like it. Like, this isn't just good for a season 30 or whatever. This is actually good.
Yeah, I think as far as like, if I was to do essentially we have been doing master rankings on the Simpsons Index, but like, I imagine this one will rank somewhere like middle high, like in the like, if we're ranking
overall of everything.
It kind of reminds me of like in the early post-classic era, like seasons 10, 12, things like that. The show wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders, but those Treehouse of Horrors were still really good. And this kind of feels like something like that. This feels almost like a season, 10 to 12 Treehouse of Horror in terms of quality. It's a big surprise.
Yeah, I'd say for those ones, they were going for more fun and funny, whereas I think this one was like...
It was creepier.
Yeah, more prioritizing the creepiness, and the horror elements over the jokes, which, again, for Season 34 and Season 35, we've been saying, hey, at least they're trying shit, and that pays off,
And they take big swings here.
Even our friend, the real Jim's, uploaded a video yesterday where he was like, look, give me weird Simpsons over boring, trite Simpsons any day.
Yeah, give me what to expect when Bart's expecting over something that we've failed for being so boring we couldn't stand it.
Exactly. All right, well, let's hook into the first segment anyway. This was called The Pookadook, written by Carolyn Omine. And yeah, it's basically a parody of The Babadook. I think. I haven't seen it. Have you, Diana?
No, I haven't. Okay.
Hey, that's my one.
Excellent. Wait, really? So me and Diana know the same things, and you're filling in the gaps for the one that we did.
I'm so happy.
BT, can you give us a quick rundown of what up with that Babadook?
So in the movie, basically this woman is living alone with her son after the death of her husband, and this storybook kind of shows up and won't go away and kind of freaks her kid out, and then they start seeing this mysterious, top-hatted Babadook, who over the course of the film you kind of learn, oh wait, this is a metaphor for grief and how you have to learn to live with it rather than try and banish it. And weirdness goes around, weirdness abides, and spooks happen, and the kid is a little shit.
How the hell have you not seen the Westworld TV show? Sorry,
I've
but
seen,
I'm
like-
offended by that.
I've seen like 2 episodes. They were pretty good. I never got back around to it.
Yeah, not to jump ahead, but yeah, I watched the first season and then thought...
I watched the first season. No, that's all that matters. But
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard that's all that matters. I definitely, it's a low bar. There's only, like 10 episodes in the first season. So I got to
Yeah.
get back to it, but I have not yet.
No, I tapped out at season 2 pretty hard. Anyway,
Simpsons tapped out.
Everyone did.
well, and they're tapping out too now. But we're
Tapping
all over
out,
the
tapped
place.
out.
So, PT, how was like the translation of the parody from the Babadook to the Simpsons for you with the Pookadook?
It was more vibe rather than direct one-to-one correlation, but I think it works pretty well. Like, here they're basically saying that they're replacing grief with, like, suppressed rage. That worked quite well for Marge. Creepy Marge is creepy. I do quite like it.
My big note here is Julie Kavner's current voice actually really works for this.
Yep, okay. I'm glad I wasn't the only one thinking that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's gone back the other way where, most times we're doing this podcast, we're getting people on there going, God, Marge sounds, that's scary. But this one, it's like, oh, God, Marge sounds scary. How about you, Diana? What do you think of this opening segment?
No, I really like this. I just want to say as well, like, they cut straight into this. I'm so used to there being a framing device or a little short 2-minute, like almost 4th segment in modern treehouses.
Like, there's a hint of it because you do get the Treehouse of, intro.
Like
and
they
it's
open the book.
Yeah, it's like a stop motion looking book, but nothing really moves. And it feels like there was probably something else there once upon a time that got cut for time. Fair enough.
There is a little post, well, not post credits, but post last story.
Yeah, just to get Kang and Kodos in the treehouse, which the majority of their appearances at the moment feel shoehorned. But yeah, it's like, it's weird. We always go, oh, Simpsons just like start these days, don't they? No opening crawl, no time. Got to make room. But I don't feel like the pacing of this felt stretched out or anything. Like I feel like actually this one
they needed the time.
Yeah. This one earned its pacing. Yeah.
No, I really like this. When I first watched this, I didn't know it was a reference or based on anything at all. Like when I first watched it, like a year or 2 ago, I found it genuinely pretty creepy by Simpson standards.
Oh, by any standards, like I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've done a lot of stories where Maggie is in such constant, persistent fear and distress, like the
Usually
way she is.
they kind of just keep Maggie out of any high risk situations for the most part. So
or if there is, like they like delightfully write it off and like baby's day out their way out of it. This
or
one
it's just
like
this is indeed a disturbing universe.
Yeah, this one is all about Marge trying to stab a little baby.
Yeah, which is like why I wanted to know like what the happened in the Babadook anyway. So does the mother get possessed in that as well, or
Look, it's been a long time and I can't remember. I don't think
Babadook
so.
sounds like a slur.
But a little bit.
Yeah, like
there was this weird cultural thing where people started shipping the Babadook and it. Pennywise the clown.
Sure.
It's just like, I don't know how this is working, but okay.
The internet does what it do.
It'll do what it do. It'll, make porn of anything.
Yeah, look, I think in that, like, it's not like this segment was devoid of humor. Probably could have used a bit more jokes, but, like, if we're doing a departure for Treehouse of Horror and focusing on horror, fucking give me more of this. And some of the best jokes more come out of the way of, like, the family's cavalier and ignorant attitude towards what's going on.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, of course you wouldn't suspect anything because why would you? Like, I do like a lot of the jokes in here that just kind of come out of nowhere, especially like Marge has the cleaver and is menacing Maggie, and then Homer walks in and says, "Oh, we need that for our we're setting up a karate dojo. Oh, this would be great for chopping up the lawn furniture." Just takes it. It just has that hint of other things are happening in the background.
On a similar note, the other like pretty like notable just Homer joke was when Marge is saying, the family's always in the way, they're going to sleep with the fishes. And just an immediate smash cut to Homer being like, yay, we get to sleep over at the aquarium. Like, this has, obviously, because it's like, like a 7-minute treehouse segment, the pacing here is just, like, top-notch.
Yeah. Like, it's
really
fast,
good.
but it doesn't feel rushed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But like one of the things I do appreciate about it is like, yeah, it is taking a known Simpsons element of Marge doing a lot for this family and often being overlooked. And I like the touch of like when Maggie's, tied up Marge in the basement and trying to get her to go back to her non-possessed self. Pulls out the photo album and she's like, look, Mom's not having fun. And like they're at the beach and she's getting pestered by seagulls or something.
Who took those photos?
No.
Oh, let's just say Mo. But yeah, like Maggie can't find a photo where Marge isn't like working or otherwise trying to put out fires and stuff like that. And,
occasionally, literally.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was quite eloquent, that the way that they tied it in with this story, and yeah, using it as the metaphor for repressed rage, and yeah, even Marge's line like, "Oh, you don't think I can swallow feelings? I'm like a python eating a goat." It's just, Jesus.
Yeah, I think if I have one like main criticism on this one, I kind of want a sense of that repressed rage a bit earlier.
Yeah, sure.
Because when she's reading the book and it talks about Pookadook feeds on your rage, it's like, okay, we need to kind of see. I actually wrote that down assuming it wouldn't come back later, and it does, so that's good. It just needed just a little bit of something earlier on. But again,
yeah, because we just launched straight into Marge reading the book, but yeah, it was clear we didn't have much time elsewhere anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So I can forgive it for that. It's just I would have liked a hint of that earlier on.
Absolutely. Anything else to say about this segment?
Look, the heart moment of Sleepy Cheek and Baby Cheek, that's super cute.
Yeah, that's set up early on where Marge gets Maggie to sleep by rubbing her cheeks and saying baby cheeks, and that's how Maggie eventually gets Marge to come out of her funk. And I love the bit where Marge is like, "Oh, Maggie, I almost chopped you up into little pieces," and Maggie just does like the shrug and like sideways smile sort of thing. That got me. Like, because in a segment where we've had a lot of like noises of a baby being distressed, that was just a great release to all that tension. Yeah.
Like, whatever, it happens.
And I like at the very beginning when Marge is reading, like trying to read a story to Maggie, there's a really nice like lighting going on. There's a color gradient where it's very dark, but right by the lamp, it's just very lit up. They really cared about the atmosphere for this.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of sets up the tone.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. And yeah, if I don't remember to say it again, this episode looks gorgeous. Every segment has some animation moment where I've gone, wow.
For this one, is that Marge like trying to get into the basement?
Yeah, the way that they use Marge's physicality and like how she's quite lean and tall, like when she's gangly, that is so unsettling. Yeah, and the floating, and it's used to great effect.
I like that when they're trying to pick something to read, they have a book just called Sup Moon. That was good.
I didn't write them all down, but I did actually like the running joke of books there, yeah.
Yep. I like Maggie's crayon crossbow. That's fun.
Yeah, that's another one of my favorite subgenres of comedy within Maggie is her improvised devices, like thinking back to Streetcar Named Marge or something like that. Yeah, how she built a bow out of like baby toys and stuff. Again, they look good.
Yeah, and similar to she gets, the flammable rag and the flammable doll and puts it in the swingamajig, and that kind of hurls the flaming doll at Marge. And I do like he just hits her and just goes, "Is that all you got?"
Yeah.
He's like, it's a good kind of ominous, you were screwed from the start kind of moment.
Man, Marge works so well as the being an ominous possessed figure. Yeah.
Yeah, that is ominous.
All right, if we were to rank this segment and this segment alone, what would you give it? Start with you, BT.
I'm probably sitting on a gold.
Yeah, wow. Diana?
It's tricky. I'm thinking for this segment, maybe a silver.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. It's one of these things where it's like I really appreciate how far they dug into the horror elements, but like even when I'm sitting down to watch a Treehouse of Horror, I want a few more jokes, but I think it was very well done and very well made. Otherwise,
I will say, and not to spoil things too much, but this is one of those treehouses where I don't think there's a single bad segment. I think they're all great. So usually there's a lesser one, and I can't think of which one would be the lesser one here. If I had to gun to my head, I might say the Pookadook, but it is also the best in terms of its horror. So
yeah, wow. Well, we'll get to the segment I think is the weakest one soon, but first we must go to a segment that once again I
think is the weakest.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. At me, nerds.
Oh, they sure will. At Old Man Calloway on Twitter. That
no one uses Twitter.
Nazis use Twitter. Be nice.
spots and some weird South African dude. Anyway, so next segment is Death Tome. This segment got a lot of attention online for its
for some reason.
Well, I guess Death Note is a popular thing. It's referencing the anime Death Note, and I think it got a lot of attention because of how well they did the animation in it, and the redrawing of all the Simpsons characters and stuff
just
like
that anime style, and like even in the motion and stuff, it looks spot on.
Yeah, and so turning to you, Diana, our resident Death Note expert, as you'll be forever known.
I'm putting that on my resume.
Yep.
Hello, I'm Death Note Diana. Yep.
Yeah.
Look, it alliterates. I like it.
When I first watched this Treehouse of Horror, I had not seen Death Note or read Death Note, and then after that, like pretty much maybe like the week or two after I saw this, I got really interested and was like, I'll watch the Death Note anime. And I watched half of that, and then stuff came up, and I had like internet issues. Didn't matter. I had to stop for a little bit. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy all the Death Note manga. So now I've read all of it and seen half the anime. And yeah, I think I'm the one here who has the most familiarity with it. I don't know. Maybe BT secretly. He's a secret fan.
Yeah.
Not intentionally. Again, I just never got around to it.
It was a very big thing like 20 years ago.
It's that old? Well, the manga at least, because the series...
The manga is 2003 onwards. The anime is 2008, I think.
Oh wow, that's
Sounds
even
about right.
not as recent as I thought it'd be.
They use like flip phones.
Yeah,
Remember
that's
those
right.
kids?
Well, yeah, knowing Diana asked if she could do this one, and I said yes, and I was like...
And then I made you watch some episodes.
Well, you didn't make me so much as strongly recommend that it is a good show that I should watch, and, I had a long-haul flight coming up, so, yeah, I downloaded a few episodes onto my devices, but then the plane had the full first season of The Last of Us, so I rewatched that instead.
Makes sense.
But yeah, naturally, this weekend I decided to cram for the test, and watched the first 3 episodes, and you know what?
3 of them.
Well, yeah, and you know what? I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't push through, watch it early.
We'll stop recording. We can do this tomorrow when you've binged the whole thing.
We'll resume
send to me. I'll get through it as well.
Yeah, but I quite enjoyed the first 3 episodes, and I'm quite intrigued to where the story goes, and it's a really interesting concept that they've done. Anyway, first 3 episodes aside.
But no, it is really good, and I hate to say this because it sounds funny when you think imagine if someone was like, oh, what's a beginner movie? What's a beginner TV show to watch? But I constantly hear people say Death Note is a beginner anime, as in it's something to convert people into anime. And I just find it funny because it's just a cartoon.
Gateway show.
It's not a cult. It's just
no.
But maybe this will be your conversion.
I mean, maybe I've certainly tried over the years, and it's nothing against anime. It's just not quite my thing. But
yeah, it's you need a beginner show.
But yeah, so I think the Death Note is pretty much as it works. The concept of the show works the same as it did here, except the one key difference is that Lisa is obligated to write how they die, whereas in original Death Note, you just write their name and you have to keep a picture of them in your mind so you don't get the wrong John Smith, And
in Death Note, in the proper series, you can use the same death over and over, but here you have to use a unique one each time, which is a plot point here. Just that way they can get more jokes out of it.
Yeah,
which I think is a welcome change, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Because in the anime, it's just heart attacks all the time, and it gets so boring.
Yeah.
No one gets eaten by a toilet lion.
No, there's no toilet lions. It will pick up, hopefully.
Yeah.
This is when I find out, a week from now, you fucking hate it.
God damn it, just rolled the last episode and it sucked. But I thought Lisa was a good substitute for Light, who's the main character in Death Note. What do you reckon, Diana?
No, I do. Because Light, basically his immediate thing is he wants a sense of justice. He thinks there's too many criminals. He's a bit of a police apologist. But anyway, he... Yeah, but he's doing it for a sense of justice. And Lisa is kind of the same way, where she hates all the corruption and destruction of the world going on.
Yeah.
It works well. But what I find funny is, and I showed you this earlier, Elliot.
Oh yeah, I forgot to forward this onto PT.
The 2000s, there was one of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror comics. They did a Death Note manga parody. And in that, they swapped the roles around, where Bart is the one that finds it. And I just find that quite interesting. There's two different takes on the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially, I think Lisa works better because of her sense of justice.
I do too, but it's interesting. You don't see that too often.
No, well, I mean, I don't think we'll be starting the Simpsons Comics Index anytime soon.
Oh, God.
That's a very, very deep well.
And on panel 3, Bart says cowabunga. Now moving to panel 4. No.
But it is interesting, the kind of stuff that they attempted there. And yeah, if you look BT, that is, again, very good-looking drawings and very close to the style and everything. And the character adaptations are really well translated.
Yep. It does remind me in both instances of that whole Homer and Marge, if our parents get together, then we'll have freakish kids with pink skin and 5 fingers.
But yeah, and it's also sort of translating into the anime style while not being so overly, big-eyed and moving backgrounds and that sort of shit.
It still looks recognizable, and it fits.
It does, but they're really leaning into the Death Note visual style, which is a very strong, there's a lot of strong art direction in that show. Yeah,
for real. And there's a certain, haze over Death Note that's, doesn't quite exist in other anime. There's just a filter that it's, often processed through. And, it is really distinct. And I think it's, not so much Simpsons doing an anime parody. They are definitely doing a Death Note parody here. So turning to you, BT, why you hate this one so much? Why have you got to be a hater?
Yeah, haters gotta hate. I don't know what to tell you.
Shake it off.
Look, I just feel
you can mute his mic now.
It all kind of just flows to, as in, there's no sense of cat and mouse. Lisa's this mysterious L is after me, and they know my secret. Wait, I know who L is, and that's Bart, and I found him, and it's just
I have 8 minutes.
I know, but that's still.
Do you not want a lion in the toilet or not?
I will sacrifice a lion in the toilet, which was my favorite gag from this segment, for a better, stronger storyline. Yes, always kill your darlings.
Yeah, the death gags in this is so good. Of Lisa, it's
a great montage.
The wonderful creativity of all the deaths of, the skydiving, the cigar explosion, a crocodile also coming out of a toilet.
Toilets are dangerous places, man.
But then also, intersplicing, with very Death Note style, where she flicks the pen to her side before she goes to write again. That's, straight out of Death Note right there.
And that's great. Basically why I forced you, gun to your head, to watch it, is just because this really does capture that identity. And
which was difficult because you live in different states. You had to mail him the gun and then give him instructions on how to put it against his own head.
Speaking of mailing things, this was done by a different animation team than The Simpsons usually does. This was done, I looked it up, it's by a company called DR Movie. They're a Korean studio, but they mostly work with anime in Japan, and they did assist with Death Note. They weren't the main animators, but they did work with it. But they've done some American stuff as well. They did Avatar: The Last Airbender, a few episodes of that, and other things I can't remember.
Yeah, which I think was an essential thing for them to do here, because if they just got their team to do it, it would have been fine. But there is a certain authenticity to the way this one looks.
That makes a lot of sense to get the people who do this to do this. Yeah. I am curious, is the kind of the world it's set in the same way? As in, we start and Lisa's talking about how humanity's kind of corrupted the entire world, and there's some great billboard gags in the background of disposable cows and gender reveal napalm. And I'm just wondering, is that from the manga / anime?
It's less funny, but in that, it's basically just a son of a police officer who really wants to be a cop, and he just sees all the criminals that are let off and criminals who get by unpunished, and he basically has a superiority complex where he sees the world is corrupt and suffering because there should be no bad people. For some reason, he still likes the cops, but
And his theory is that if he gets rid of all the criminals with his Death Note, then he'll make a utopia of only good people. And
that's what he's doing. And in the beginning as well, like if I remember correctly, and Elliot will be fresher with this, I'm pretty sure the first time he uses for Death Note is watching. There's a criminal on TV that has a hostage, and he tests it out with that, and that's basically what Snake was here for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sense.
And then he has like irrefutable proof it works.
Yeah, which is important. So it's good that keeps the pace going and all that. So good thing to import in. But yeah, the world is not 20 Calfarts away from total extinction.
That is such a good line.
They don't mention it. It might be the case
Still
in the series.
Yeah. But yeah, to your point, BT. Yeah, I know the whole turn with the L detective that finds out who Lisa is, and she's the one with the death note or whatever. Like that does unfold really quickly, but I give it the generous take that I think it might be a good meta joke of how easily the L detective in Death Note does figure stuff out.
Oh, you're speaking like a true fan. Speak like pulling it out of your ass and being
3
so
episodes,
defensive.
my eye.
Yeah. Oh, you watched all of them on double speed, I think.
No, that that's all in the first 3 episodes.
And that's why I wanted you to watch at least episode 2, because for BT's reference, basically his main antagonist, if you can even call him an antagonist, is just a detective called L. So the name El Bardo, they did it for that reason, obviously.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting is in the comic version, where Bart's the protagonist, Elle is Lisa, and she's the detective there. And that's why I'm torn about which version sounds better, because Lisa works better as the protagonist, but also as the very smart detective.
Lisa versus Lisa.
But both have Elle, and it's pretty clever that they did that.
Yeah. And I'd say my one criticism is that I wish the Shinigami was just a Springfield plant.
Like it sounds like Mo, so I kind of thought it was going to be.
He was in the comic. In the comic, the Shinigami was Krusty the Clown, which makes sense, but then you have to think, production-wise, this was the episode after the whole Not It Pennywise thing.
Right.
So they probably didn't want to double up on Krusty.
Yeah, so but still, I just
Plus,
I
his
agree.
name was like
Feels a
Steve
little
Johnson or something. Are there any Simpsons characters called Steve Johnson that you know of?
There's a Mr. Thompson.
I mean, it's not a joke that I needed there, so like fucking put old Sea Captain in there for all I care. Like, yeah, we just I feel like a Springfield surrogate would have been much better than this whole Steve Johnson joke. It was.
I mean, I agree, but.
And also, you can't kill a Shinigami with the Death Note. They cover that. Yeah, do we have anything else to say about this segment?
I do, if you can believe it or not. You saw Lisa has to look up the board of directors for the Globo Warming Company.
Yep.
Did you read any of those names?
No, I did not.
Okay. So all those names are pulled from a 90s Super Nintendo Mega Drive baseball game. Yeah, baseball game. And basically it was Japanese people having to make up fake American names.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the names are terrible. And I wrote down a couple like Steve McDykel, Onsen Sweeney, Ray McScriff, Raoul Chamoulain.
I love this, and I wanted almost dig deeper into it, like what other language speaking countries think English sounds like to them, like what's their blah 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 version of it. I find this so deeply fascinating. Oh, I'm glad they referenced it.
And one thing I also find extra good about this, I can't remember if a Death Note anime cleaned it up or not, but I read the manga, and in that, it still lists the shitty attempts at American names in that. There will be a segment later up coming up with some FBI members. So they're all American, and some of the names in Death Note were Leon Zapak, Tors Denote, Bess Skeleton, Nick Steak, and my favorite was Fridge Copin. So yeah, I'm assuming they had some, they wanted to parody that specifically.
Oh, definitely.
So those are great names to read in English.
Oh, you're making me think it's the kind of thing where you post up the still image of that in a group chat, and then all of a sudden everyone's nicknames will change.
Oh, yeah.
And then 2 years later you'll be like, why are we called this?
Everyone's called Fridge.
Yeah. Yeah. I initially found it weird that Burns was around their place for dinner, but whatever. But I like how she wrote, dies in his sleep, and he fell asleep there and then fell asleep on the grill and stayed asleep. I thought, again, the deaths in this segment were quite good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to rank this segment and this segment alone, what would you give it? Start with you, Diana.
I hate to be biased. I would probably say gold.
Hey. Ooh, I actually don't know. What do you say, BT? The hater BT?
I'm on a silver, a hateful silver, I guess. But hey,
silver.
look, if people, if the person most familiar with the source material says gold, that's a pretty good endorsement.
To stall you for a sec, it's one of those things, like when I first watched it, I was probably on a silver, but it's like The Shining, where I loved The Shining, and then I watched The Shining, and I came away loving the Treehouse even more. So this is kind of like that, where... Like, it's good on its own, no matter what hateful silver says. But if you know the source material, it really does escalate it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there, because like I did watch this previously, but I was a little tipsy, and I got at the end of it, it's like, what the fuck just happened? Even more so at the end of the next segment. But this watch, being of more sober mind and knowing the source material, you know what? These aren't the official rankings. I'm just gonna give it a cheeky gold. Why not?
Cheeky gold.
But moving on to the next segment, and my least favorite of the of the three was Simpsons World. So this is sort of a parody of Westworld, but it's also a parody of all of the classic Simpsons.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a Simpsons self pat on the back, but I think it does actually work pretty well for it.
Yeah, so for those, again, I think the Simpsons do a good job of giving you the bones of what Westworld is. It's a fantasy world that you can visit that's inhabited by animatronic robots that think they're people and act out as people, but are robots, pretty much.
You can have a good old West time there.
Yeah, so what did we think of this one?
I liked it, and I don't have much negative to say.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think it's... Yeah, very self-congratulatory, but I think it pulls it off. It does it quite well, because we've quoted before that we're very tired of like Simpsons referencing Simpsons because it feels so very up its own arse at this point, but it's different when it's in a treehouse and it's kind of this imagined world where Simpsons World is like this recreational place you can go to. And yeah, I think it actually pulls it off for the most part.
Yeah, so in this one, Homer becomes self-aware and starts recruiting the rest of the family. Like, again, just with pacings, I feel like this is the one where it felt rushed. Like, maybe it's just as long as it needs to be, but, like, Homer forming the Avengers of his family, like, just happened too quickly for me. Like, it was just, all right, Lisa, let's find the hottest Marge, and then the whole family's there. That
was going to be my question to the group, because they're like, let's find the hottest Marge, and it's just default Marge, which, fine, but if it was up to, this panel, what do you feel like you'd pick?
For the hottest Marge?
What's the hottest Marge?
The one from Playboy. Now, that one was pretty good.
No, Playboy isn't canon.
Isn't it? It kind of is.
On the hay bale in Natural Born Kisses after they get out of the rain.
Oh, yeah. Damn, good call.
See, I was leaning to that episode, and I was just going to say something like just when she's naked, but now I need to think of something more creative.
Yeah, and while we're doing it, hottest Homer, while he's in front of the two log sawing guys.
Vulnerability is its own beauty.
I think hottest Homer is when Snake took over him with the toupee.
Oh,
Chicky
definitely.
pie. Confidence, it's sexy.
That's it. Yeah, so how about you, Diana? What's so good about this segment?
I mean, it's solid. People that can, good art doesn't need a defense, and I just think you're wrong. But no, I like that it immediately starts up with, a monorail scene. Mm-hmm. It just cuts there, there's no explanation. If not for the fact that it's in widescreen cropped, you probably wouldn't even... probably think it was just an original scene for a few seconds.
Yeah, but this thing, you get a moment of, wait, what's going on here? And I do kind of like that.
My brain always, every time I've watched this, I've always just noticed, this is definitely new animation. As soon as the bitey scene happens and Marge's pearls are red, because in the original episode, that one scene, they're this weird off-red.
Ah.
It looks kind of, sickly.
Well, just to get into nitty-gritty complaints with this, the opening monorail, of course they're doing, the original with new footage, so it's just going to be hard to re-splice the original or whatever. But I just thought that this one looked so obviously traced, and the line weight is so uneven on all the outlines of the drawings. It just... like, generous take you could give it that it makes it feel otherworldly and not quite right, but at the same
Doesn't feel
time,
like that
I
was the
also
intention.
don't think it looks that good. But, which is, again, they have some really good looking animation moments later on in the episode. I think if this is the one you're going to open up with, I just fix up that line weight, guys. It's
makes
so
sense.
bubbly and inconsistent. It's like it was drawn by that guy that did Dr. Katz. There's a throwback for you.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah, any other like standout moments from this one for you guys?
I mean, the fact that we're already reaching for standout moments kind of feels,
Well, it's because
a lot of
Elliot's the one leading the conversation.
Well, there's not much to talk about with this episode because most of the jokes are, here's a bunch of Simpsons references.
Yeah, pretty much. And if that's its biggest weakness as well, arguably, I like that. I mean, they kind of rub it in your face, but I like that the people in this world have 5 fingers. That's a nice little.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's good.
Because
Yeah,
you
well-
weren't paying attention. No wonder you didn't like it. Okay, we need to
Yeah,
we need to do this again.
I just had my head down going, oh, I hate this segment. This
All
is
right.
stupid.
Yep.
I don't
One of
like
the
fun.
technicians takes off their glove, and kind of almost, in a 3D movie where they really put things towards the camera.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that for a second, like, oh, look at my hand. It works. It's a nice detail.
I do like as well that they reference the Australian superfans.
With the 2 guys and the girl there, I think they just did a spot-on drawing of us 3 right now. Like,
Yeah,
Especially when they're getting pushed in the hedge, just going, oi, 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 oi.
yeah.
I have to wonder, like, the oi 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 is obviously just a reference because that's all Australians ever say.
Yep.
But it does make me think of the one time with Rupert Murdoch in the Super Bowl episode.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that was a deliberate callback or if that's all they think
mean-
Australians speak like.
This is full of deliberate callbacks, so yeah, quite possibly.
But yeah, it is a very particular thing where, like, yeah, the Australian Simpsons superfan, I mean, here we are. Like, they got us. But, like, I think this is the only time I've liked a callback to the Homer hedge joke that the Simpsons have done.
Yeah.
Like, where Homer just said, I'm so sick of that hedge, and then used it to kill the Aussies. Like, I thought, yeah.
They just died through no explanation, and I love that.
The hedge is just lethal somehow.
Actually, my favorite joke here was after Homer makes the Lisa bot self-aware, she goes, oh my god, I'm just a character from a show that hasn't been good since season 45. I'm like, well done. That was good.
I mean, given how rapidly we're approaching that.
Yeah.
My favorite bit is like around that exact same time, but a different part of Lisa's dialogue is Homer turns up the self-awareness for Lisa and she is freaking out and having an existential crisis. So then Homer turns it down just a little and she's just like, I can accept being a robot.
Yeah. And as video game fans, all of us, I think we do appreciate, there needs to be more Sliders humor in show. Not Sliders the show, Sliders as in, altering your character Sliders.
That was ultimately.
When are they
just
going to do a Sliders Treehouse of Horror? That'll be topical.
These days we're just up to the stage where it's like, oh yeah, why haven't the Simpsons done that yet?
Yeah, you could argue the Toaster episode is pretty close to Sliders, but yeah, that's time alteration, not other dimensions. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's also a Peabody and Sherman.
That one ended better than Sliders.
Yeah.
Take that, you 30-something-year-old show. I'm sure people
Still
still
younger
care
than The
about.
Simpsons.
Stop.
What do we think about the giant mob of Ralphs that were descending on The Simpsons as they were trying to escape?
I mean, I've had
like
that
it.
nightmare, haven't you?
It reminds me of this thing called Itchy and Scratchy Land, which I think was also related to Westworld. I feel like The Simpsons are referencing a thing they've already referenced.
Isn't that funny that, okay, they've been around so long now that, yeah.
'Cause that was the Westworld movie from the 70s.
Yeah. That they, and yeah, Itchy and Scratchy Land and the Boy Who Knew Too Much or whatever both referenced that. And now this is referencing the TV show. Wow. Anyway.
Yep.
The Simpsons are scary. Wait until they do a Westworld 2050s revival.
Give it time.
Yeah. Again, I thought as far as a creepy looking visual, a bunch of smiling Ralph staring down at you, I think is, it did have creepy imagery, but yeah, I don't know. It felt just more of an excuse to do every single Ralph line. Like, this was just at the point of the episode where I'm like, oh, I am so full of Simpsons references right now. I simply cannot eat another bite.
And it's fair enough to just say this is just an episode. It's like, do you get it? Do you get it? How about this? Like, I do enjoy them fighting back using, the makeup gun and Bart's, megaphones all attached to each other. Again, that's
And
not
they
really
kill
a
Maud
plot.
Flanders again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at this stage in my notes, I've just written down, there is no way I can write down all the references here.
Yeah, it's too much too fast.
So the episode ends with them escaping, and they take refuge in a nearby restaurant. And who is there but guest star of the episode, John Roberts, playing Linda Belcher? And yeah, it zooms out, and they're just in the Bob's Burgers world, and there's a bunch of other worlds, South Park world.
Yeah.
It was called
SpongeBob.
South Park Park.
South Park Park.
Makes
Oh,
sense.
that's good. Yeah, SpongeBob Sea, I think, was another one, and Rick and
I only
Morty.
read 2 of them and I forgot the other one.
Yeah, I think Rick and Morty and Family Guy were other ones. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
There was also, I vaguely remember, what's the name of that show that no one watched? The puberty hormone
Big
Oh,
Mouth.
monster?
Big Mouth.
Big Mouth, yeah, that was one of the worlds. And I'm like, is that still in the air?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I still love that show, and you know, it's still
We're
one of
allowed
the
to.
cartoons that can get an Emmy over The Simpsons these days. Like,
Yeah, because people like you that don't like this great special, like this great segment,
yeah,
yeah, it's just unfair.
Yep, that is one of my, just a quick trip into a trick or treat to Jordan's Anal Corner.
Go.
Yeah, just the fact that they end up in another one of, head-shaped pavilions without noticing it is a bit weird.
Yeah, true.
I mean, sure, it works for the, you never really escape, but yeah, again, it's a pointless thing to gripe on, but it is a gripe I had.
As far as the ending goes, like, again, I'm a Bob's Burgers simp, so any excuse to get a little bit of Linda into the show was okay.
I see,
by me.
you're a simp, son.
Very good.
Yeah,
Oh
it
yeah,
was
and the
awful,
other guest
but-
star for this episode was Hank Williams Jr., who sung a little bit of the Canyonero song as Marge barreled through the Ralph crowd with a Canyonero. Anyway, if you were to give Simpsons World a ranking, what would you give it? Start with you, BT.
I would silver this one. I had a good time, even though it's arguably not the best, plot-wise, but yeah.
How about you, Diana?
I know I'm going to be kicked off and you're not going to talk again to me, but I'd still go gold. I did like it.
Yeah, wow. Well, let's rank all three. Oh, yeah. Actually, we kind of talked about the epilogue already. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
I was
sorry.
still going to say something else about the episode.
Yep,
Oh,
shoot.
yes, go.
Yeah, one thing I actually really liked about this, which you would have noticed if you were watching and not taking notes, the map of Springfield here is just like references, but also just familiar buildings all over the place in places where they shouldn't be. It's kind of like when you play one of the old Simpsons video games, or
Yeah, they've never had to map
go to a theme park.
Springfield before.
It makes no sense, and buildings that shouldn't be near each other are next to each other. And I kind of just love it kind of does feel like a believable commercial world where people would go, because they would want to see the burlesque house, or
Yeah, and you don't want to walk to the other end of the park for that. It's going to be right
Exactly.
next to Moe's.
And when they first go into the Springfield city square, you can hear the Simpsons theme song playing on speakers, and it sounds really eerie when that's happening, because it's not like what we're used to with the Simpsons theme.
Like
I think
tinny
that
and-
captures a lot of the atmosphere. There's a lot of uncanniness with this because it's deliberately meant to be weird and wrong.
Yeah, I will give it that sort of
God, you
unsettling
gave it
element.
something.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you hated?
No, I've spewed out all my hate. What about you, BT? You look like
I got
you've
a couple
something
of
to
notes.
say. Do you?
I do indeed. Rusty chainsaws. I do like there's, the technicians are talking. It's like, oh, how'd you date with the guy from props? Goes like, oh, it's good. He's all like, I'm the guy in charge of rakes. We get it. There's a lot of rakes. And given our complaints of the overuse of Sideshow Bob's rake gag, yeah, we've had enough rakes. You can stop now.
I think that's what I was hoping for. A few more of those sort of doing the reference without doing the reference sort of things, Yeah.
Yeah. So, I do like
I
that
was going to
Homer.
give it a bronze. Yeah. Sorry.
That's it. That Homer giggles at the idea of IP. Like that seems like a thing he would laugh at. I do.
Fucking stupid. Hated it.
It was funny.
Garbage.
But it's exactly what he would laugh at. And look, you get a quick little moment of heart where, all the Simpsons are together and like, but we're not real, we're fake. And Marge says, but the love we feel is real. I mean, it's Homer. I think it's Homer says the love we feel is real. So that's nice. And a quick little throw at the very end when they're doing the whole credit sequence and you get all the Simpsons converted to spooky different names. We get Maggie Macabre Rosewell, an obvious reference to our friend Danny Rosewell, who goes by Danny Macabre, spelled Danny Macabre, on Remix Audio and Twitter. Check him out now, losers.
TikTok.
Whatever. The T1 that people actually use.
That's right.
Tumblr.
Yeah, he's definitely using that for his remixes. All right, it is time to rank this thing on the Simpsons Index. Oh, yeah, we did rankings without me setting this up. Oh, well, on the Simpsons Index, we rank using a 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just, you give it a participant. But for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold. But for the best of the very best, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. Yeah, thank you for muting that F1 car that went by your way.
Yeah, sorry, I have no idea what the fuck was happening.
For a second I thought, oh, did that car take Diana out? What the hell happened?
For the record, I didn't mute my actual recording in Audacity, so you'll have to deal with that later.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
you can only mute one, makes sense to mute Riverside, so thank you.
Yeah,
all good.
Sorry.
No, you're right.
I live on a major road, and sometimes people use that as an excuse to be the most obnoxious cunts in the world.
To do their Formula 1 driving, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my ranking. Where am I going with this one? Look, I'm going to give this one a solid silver. I think I could have been pushed up to the gold if I liked Simpsons World a bit better. I get that maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just not appreciating the meta-ness because I've actually, just from doing this podcast, seen a lot of Simpsons do this sort of stuff of the self-referential humor. And while this is a very different take on it, it was enough to drag this one down for me just enough. So I'm sitting at a silver. BT, what do you reckon?
Yep, getting a silver as well. Look, in review, I feel like, Simpsons World probably is the weakest. I think I'm mostly impressed that all its self-referential... I'm busy, hang on. All its self-referential, I didn't find it annoying. I'm so used to finding Simpsons referencing Simpsons irritating as hell, and the fact that it didn't, I was left mostly chuffed with. But yeah, now that I have some time to think and talk on it, and be yelled at by two bullies... I guess this one is probably the weakest of the lot, but that, I stick with the silver ranking for it and for the episode overall.
And Diana, please finish it off.
I am nicer than both of you for this, but I will specify for people that yell at me on the spreadsheet. This is not representative of the season. This is way better than the rest of the season, at least. I've basically seen the whole season that this is from. This is my favorite episode of this season.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm giving it a gold.
Oh, wow.
This is a really good treehouse. Like I said, this reminds me of the early post-classic ones, which were probably the best episodes of their seasons. But, this is maybe not... This might be in the top 10 treehouses. Definitely top, 12. But yeah.
Well, it'll be a shiny silver, and I can confirm it is the first Treehouse of Horror to get a shiny silver. But where does it rank in the overalls? Oh my god, it's going to be our 10th best Treehouse of Horror.
Oh my god.
Well, there we go. Proof.
On
it's
this
scientific.
The 10th Treehouse of Horror-thon. There we go. Top 10 right there.
Wild.
Yeah, but I mean, wild to think about initially, but then it's like, oh yeah, we've watched a lot of mediocre and garbage Treehouse of Horrors. Like, generally they skew a bit better than the season average, but and I think actually this might actually be currently ranking as our top season 34 episode. Let me just double check that.
From what I remember of season 34, it probably would be.
Yeah, it's our top ranked by a little bit. Yeah, it's the first silver of any kind episode to get in there.
What other season 34s have you done?
Actually, well, the last one we did with you, Homer's Adventures Through the Windshield Glass.
Another perfect episode that everyone was mean about.
But yeah, the previous equal ranked first episodes we had were Habeas Tortoise, Not It, interesting, and When Nelson Met Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, those are good episodes, but yeah, I'd still put this above it.
Yeah, so would I. Cool. Well, that does it for Treehouse of Horror 33. Now, we are going so far into the past to review Treehouse of Horror 7. We will be back. And we are back, and we just watched our classic episode. Fuck, I miss saying that. This was Season 8, Episode 1, Treehouse of Horror VII 7. First released in October of 1996, it was directed by Mike B. Anderson and written by, once again, the things had different writers. I don't think I mentioned them all last time. Whatever. Hey, y'all, what do we think?
It's good.
Good. It's almost like this is a classic episode or something.
Yeah.
All right, so patreon.com/
Yeah, like I said, we wanted to redo this one. under the umbrella of the Treehouse of Horror-thon, and also, like, not that I've ever wanted to go redoing any rankings or whatever, but this one's always famously been like, oh, you guys rank that one kind of low. And I always thought, not really, but...
That 90s show of season 8.
The high controversy, yes.
You're the only person that said, oh, you didn't rank it low enough.
There's only like 3 good episodes in the series. There's Homopalooza, that 90s show, and there's probably another one.
What to expect when Bart's expecting.
Yeah, exactly. That's a classic.
Yeah, great
Classic music. But no, this one, Treehouse of Horror VII, let's kick into it with the opening segment, The Thing and I. So everyone will remember this one. This is the one with Hugo, Bart's twin brother, in the attic. Ayol, what'd you think?
I mean, it's not a parody of The King and I, which was disappointing, so I don't know where to start on this one. Yeah, like, what are they even doing with these titles? I just haven't figured it out yet.
This wasn't a parody. Like, not every single thing here was a parody of a recent thing, and that's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, remember when Treehouse of Horror might just do stories, original stories that they came up with themselves?
That's preposterous.
Yeah.
Stop being preposter.
No, I'm pretty sure, like, I did a little bit of research at least, and I couldn't find anything that this was, like, meant to be a direct reference of. Do you guys know anything, or...?
I mean, there's always, like, you know, people under the stairs, something like that, that whole kind of secret chained family somewhere, but no, nothing in particular.
What do you know that I don't know? Well, we all know about a secret chain family.
Yeah, we're all aware of that, and try to keep, you gotta keep them in a basement. It's much more secretive.
Did you have a twin brother at all?
Triplets.
Family went through a lot of fish heads.
Yep, roly-poly fish heads. Eat them up.
Okay, good. I was going to mention that. I had no idea until I made my partner watch this episode like several years ago that Roly Poly Fish Heads was a real song.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This was an incredible moment for me because my dad really loves, like, parody music. Like, he's the reason why I'm into Weird Al Yankovic, basically. And when he got into, like, buying lots of CDs online and whatever, he got these collections of, like, Dr. Demento's favorite songs and stuff like that. And, yeah, Roly Poly Fish Heads was one of them. And I remember it coming up on when we were listening to it one day. And I'm wait, what? Like, I just thought this was something that Homer sang. This is a song?
Yep. Eat them up, yum.
So, yeah, go check it out. Barnes & Barnes Fish Heads.
It is.
A Dr. Demento favorite. And yes, Dr. Demento is also a real person and not something that The Simpsons invented.
He is Bart's nemesis, though.
Yeah, so come on, what were some standout moments from The Thing and I?
Oh, I've named it all as Fish Heads.
Yeah.
Dr. Demento.
I mean, I think I just like the underlying joke in this one that, yeah, of course this has always been happening. What do you mean you've never noticed? Like with the fact that, you know, they have to go upstairs to feed Hugo and there's always going to have been these bumping sounds in the night and Bart's always had this big scar. I kind of just like that, yeah, they've got that as kind of an underlying joke throughout.
Yeah, and even with, like, the Homer and Marge trying to deflect and, like, the kids still being kids about it.
Oh, yeah,
like...
I love the bit of, like, you know what happens to nosy kids who ask too many questions? No, what happens when you tell us?
I hate to break it to you, Elliot, but this episode did have references to other episodes.
Indeed.
What?
Yeah,
I hate that
attic.
shit.
Yeah, I did see the phone shaped like Mary Worth in the background.
Yeah, the phone's the obvious one, but you also had the B-Sharp stuff and Ringo Starr paintings. Mm-hmm. And obviously Hugo has been in every episode before this quietly.
Yeah, he must have been. You look out and the clues are there.
Yeah, he's got to put the pieces together. Yeah.
Dr. Colossus, you know, they're planning something. They're going to make the ultimate pigeon rat.
Yes, finally, the pigeon rat for the win.
Okay, so yeah, I will, like, come out and say I don't think this is actually, like, the strongest Treehouse segment, but it's got some incredibly strong moments. And Pigeon Rat, I think, is a perfectly executed animation joke of that thing trying to escape, and the pigeon donks the rat on the window, and then the rat donks the pigeon on the mouse. A whole fucking amazing sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever animated that should be given many riches. That was wonderful.
And we get the Dr. Hibbert meme from this one. Yeah,
of course. I actually saw someone had made, like, a 3D printed version of that to, like, hang as a wall frame, and that's good. It'd be great if it was, like, one of those Halloween things that you could trigger by walking past it, and the fist, if it punched out, that'd be awesome. But
yeah. I mean, certainly better than that Moe's prank telephone that's out being sold for way too much money.
That's so dumb.
Speaking of stuff being sold for too much money, did you guys see the Krusty doll you can get at shops?
No,
No, I haven't.
I saw it. I saw it
Is it
because
set
I
to
was looking
evil?
on. Yeah, it's the Good Evil Switch one, where you pull the string and it'll have things. I saw it on EB Games website.
Oh god, how much?
Too much for a fun novelty, but the kind of thing you'd probably still sink your money into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like for reference, everyone else out there is a phone that looks like the phone from Moe's Tavern, where you pick it up and you push buttons and you get Moe saying several, you get some of the prank call lines. In Australia, it is $98. It's insane. It's like just some MP3s in a plastic phone. You can buy a literal working phone for less.
Yeah.
It's
I looked it up,
insanity.
$98 for the Krusty toy as well.
Jesus
God.
Christ.
Like, at least that feels like that has slightly more effort to it, but this is just bafflingly expensive.
Yeah, how big of a doll are we talking?
I don't know. I'm not the one making it. But
Isn't
I
that a
do know
doll
it's
size,
100%
Aurora?
polyester. But no, it has 14 phrases on it, and yeah, you can pull the
Oh, wow.
string.
That's 14. Yeah, 14. I think the Mo phone has 5.
That's
It's something
Yeah, so
ridiculously
Good
long.
Evil Switch on the back, and he's got his big, like, scary jagged teeth coming out as well.
Yeah, that's nice.
Oh, $70 if you buy it at Kmart.
Yeah, EB,
And
get
we are
your
not
shit
sponsored
together.
by Kmart, but if they want
We
to,
could be, yeah. I'd be sponsored by Kmart.
Yeah, 41 centimeters high, so it's just a bit over 12
way to
inches.
brag, Elliot.
Yeah, I don't know, nearly $100, but it's so small. Like, anyway. Anything else from this segment that we haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, this has my second favorite screwy audience gag in all of Simpsons.
Oh, wow.
My favorite one is the, like, Maggie makes 3, Aronson and Zukowski are the biggest Simpson town. But this one is where you see, like, the kids run off to hide, and then it just shows these 3 vases
Yeah.
Yeah.
that are, like, different heights, and, they're like, oh, we can't breathe, we need to get out, and then they just run out from the closet.
So
Perfect
good.
joke.
Well, especially that the vases aren't, like... They're proportionate sizes to Bart and Lisa
Yeah.
and Maggie, so, like...
and
they-
in order. Vases we've never seen before, and we'll never see again.
Actually, another perfect joke that I think about pretty much every time I'm driving out in the rain is when Homer and Marge aren't at home, and when they come back, Homer goes, "See, Marge, why go to a car wash when we can just drive around in the rain?" And I'm like, he's got a point. It doesn't work, but it's...
Yeah, you didn't need a joke for why they weren't home. It was enough, and yet.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the other joke that Homer has when they all leave to look up for Hugo, like, yeah, the thing that you think is, why would they leave Barton alone in the house right now? And it's just done with a stupid explanation. Homer's just, but you stay here and tape the hockey game.
And also, it feels like they're going to split up or something, but they all go together to the same place.
Yep.
Yeah, they all go to the
Radio Shack.
airport and all see the same guy,
Or Radio
Hugo-looking
Shack
guy,
first, and
Yeah.
then
Oh,
the
yeah, of
airport.
course. where pathetic losers hang out. What did they write?
And
Homicidal widows.
they see what they think is Hugo going to Switzerland,
Hmm.
and their immediate action is to drive all the way back home and tell Bart,
Yeah, well,
who's not in the house proper. They have to go up into his attic, and they're not suspecting anything weird.
not at all.
And to me, this is wonderful Simpsons, especially Treehouse of Horror, where you don't have a time to do a perfectly explained story. And if you're going to cut corners, at least make it fucking funny. And this is what this did.
I mean, like the Simpsons World episode, yeah. Apparently, it's
Easy
not
now.
good enough when you do that. The Thing and I is not a treehouse I think of particularly often, but while you're watching it, it has some great lines and some really good atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else we missed before we move on?
Yep, I do like Marge's line of, "I'm very disappointed and terrified."
Yeah,
That works me. And a routine soul smear confirmed the presence of pure evil.
What's a soul smear? Sorry.
You know,
Doesn't
you,
exist.
you small soul smear. You've never had a soul smear. It's important, especially at our age, Elliot. Make sure no corruption's getting up in
Why
there.
would a doctor have a soul smear? That's the joke.
Check with your doctor if you got your shots and your smears done.
If soul smear is right for you.
I am also like, obvious joke, but one of the twin babies is biting. And it just says,
Yeah.
bottle
Bottle feed that one. Yeah.
Actually, and there's two great Hibbert, like, camera cut jokes in this one as well, where he says, "Yeah, we must separate the twins," and the big knife coming down, and he's just cutting wafer forms. And then the other, and then at the end, I think I know how to solve this situation. And then cuts to him holding a knife, but he's carving a turkey. And Bart's in the attic now.
Yep.
The ending of this is the most horrifying, like, one of the most horrifying things in all of Simpsons history.
Yep.
Like, the implication of Bart's entire life going forward.
Well, especially because you've seen at this point Marge stick up for Bart on numerous occasions, but this is the moment where she's like, "No, lock him in the attic with fish heads once a week."
It was the only humane thing to do.
Like, this is unlike Hugo, and what Hugo went through was obviously like torture, but this is someone who had freedom and had a normal human life and been Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and
the fish heads.
The roly-poly
and Hugo's
fish
eating
heads.
his napkin. Ha ha ha. We're still going to have sitcom fun without Bart,
Yep.
but with our new friend Hugo.
Yeah, they just started calling Hugo Bart, and the series progressed as normal. Canon.
That's it. So if you were to rank this segment alone, what would you give it, Diana?
I'd give it a gold.
Yeah, BT.
I'm pretty happy with the gold as well. I feel like this has, while it's not the most quotable one, I feel like it's probably the best story.
Of the three?
Yes.
And all
Interesting.
of storytelling of human
In
history.
all of storytelling, the Bible's got nothing on this.
Wow.
Bible's only a bronze.
Bronze Bible.
Very
yeah,
long.
definitely. Yeah, I think I'll give it a silver. I'm not sure. Maybe gold. Silvery. It's
Always got to be the grumpy pants in the room.
Oh yeah,
Grumpy,
I'm the
grumpy
mean judge to
pants.
this episode.
Can
Apparently.
I say as well, since this is now a thing, if I had to pick a weakest one of this, it would not be the thing though. Is this your weakest one, Elliot?
Moving on to the second segment.
I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah, I thought so. You went in with a silver, and I
Yeah. So the next segment, I would say, is the weakest of the three, and I think every time I sit down to watch it, like I get a little bit excited. Oh, yay, the Genesis tub. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it's not as good as in my memory. What about you two? Is that a similar thing? Or
I have the opposite where I come in going like, oh yeah, it's the one I don't like as much, and then I watch it and I'm pleasantly surprised each time.
yeah, right.
I think that's a fair word. It is pleasant, but it's not going to be thrilling or, exciting. It's nice and it's well paced. But
Actually,
yeah.
on this watch, on this watch, I was actually surprised how short it was. But I think it's because the third segment takes up a lot of the runtime on this one.
yeah, fair.
But yeah, I mean, for this one, it just sort of tells a simple story. But
Yeah.
I just think it's a bit too joke light.
That's fair. And yeah, there's just not much going on in it.
Uh,
I mean, there
what
is
about-
in Tiny Town, but
It does have one of my favorite jokes, which is Lisa looking into the microscope and saying, oh, things look about the same, and it's because it's on 1x.
yeah,
It didn't zoom in at all.
that's a nice
That
little
is-
misdirect.
That is a perfect joke.
And look, I do really like oh my god, I've created life. Ooh, waffles. And then coming back from that waffle iron's been in the shop forever.
Yeah.
Created Lutherans.
Yeah, that one times microscope joke is, again, just top tier fucking joke right there. Just amazing joke telling. Probably the joke of the segment, yeah.
I do kind of like as well, an obvious animation bit that you have to bring up is the ships flying through the hallway in Bart's bedroom.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
this
looks
was...
Really well done.
Yeah, this was one of the Simpsons' first forays into using computer animation. So basically what it was, they'd sort of animated a scene like this using basic polygons and 3D models, and then they just sort of drew over it using like the angles at a reference or something. Because, yeah, that is like a really impressive part about this ship scene, the way that the cameras whoosh with the ships and then change angles and then just do these, really interesting sweeps and shots, but then also go full-on old-school, like, 1940s cartoon moments with the ship going in Bart's ear, and then you see the
Smoke
lasers
coming
in
out.
his eye. It's just... That's some cartoony nonsense goodness that I like, yeah.
And then it's toilet time for Tiny Town. But not really.
Not really.
I do like that they build up the toilet and then you think that's what Skinner is opening, but it's just the science fair thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
you'd
think
feel
of
like-
it like that. That's it, yeah.
We definitely think of it when like Bart reaches in and grabs it, but then you're like, oh wait, no, we're somewhere else.
Gave us the milk card and ukulele as well. Let's not forget that.
Now, like the line of your tiny civilization certainly beats Martin's milk carton ukulele.
And then just Willie, first prize, throw everybody's science fair things out, and just the immediacy of it is so good.
Yep.
Yeah, what this one has going in its favor is just, it's a simple story told well using Bart and Lisa as the pro and antagonists. And yeah, then when Lisa gets shrunk down, having the life she created, questioning her as God, and then finding out that the devil was her brother. Like, It's got all these fun and fantastic implications. It's just, I kind of wish we were in Tiny Town for a bit longer.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, Futurama does this better when they redo the same concept.
Twilight Zone does this.
But yeah, this is a Twilight Zone episode as well.
Yeah, that's it. And of course, South Park would reference it in the Simpsons Already Did It episode where Cartman makes his sea people, and then Butters is all like, ha ha ha, Simpsons did it. And he's like, so who cares? Yeah. They just ripped off Twilight Zone. I haven't seen the Twilight Zone version of this. Have you, BT?
A long time ago. It's fairly similar, but I think they're on another planet, and that's where they find the tiny people, if memory serves.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have the same ending.
Yeah, nerds don't conduct electricity.
Oh, you've seen it as well, Diana?
Yeah, no, it's, basically every second Treehouse of Horror is a Twilight Zone, so you have to watch them.
Yeah, one time I hosted a horror trivia night, and I did, like, what is the Treehouse of Horror parody referencing, and all the answers to that segment were Twilight Zone. And yeah, I managed to get like 10 of them or something. Is there anything else from this segment we haven't mentioned before we move on?
Mold. That's science fair pay dirt.
Yeah.
And a little bit of Simpsons broke my brain of, we've learned to imitate you exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how the tiny society has a frink as well. Like,
the rebigulator.
Preposterous. And I do like the very mumbled line at the end where Lisa's like, go get me some shoes, and someone's like, she wants socks, I'll get her some socks.
Yeah.
I would say as well that all three of these Treehouse of Horror segments all have really horrible endings where you just feel bad for the characters.
Yeah, just crazy implication going forward endings. And
no one being like, sorry, I almost butchered you. Thumbs up, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no resetting to 0 in these ones. Yeah, Lisa's stuck in this tiny town now. So if you were to rank this segment alone, what would you give it? I'll start with me this time. I'd probably give it a bronze, to tell you the truth. How about you, BT?
I'm realizing I have the problem of this being my first classic era that I've come back to in a very long time, since I don't watch a lot of Simpsons outside of the index. Yeah, I'm on a silver bronze, but yeah, the more I kind of think about it, I do agree with the bronze. It's well told and it's well put together, but it's just, you tend to forget about this one.
How about you, Diana?
Yeah, I came in here just thinking silver, and I didn't expect you guys to be so harsh on it.
We're mean today. That's the real spooky horror.
I mean, you have to grade on the curve of 35 years of The Simpsons.
Yeah, and also, like, even grading on the curve of Treehouse of Horrors, which generally I'm a bit nicer towards, because they're inherently sillier, and that's usually what I ding normal Simpsons for. Anyway.
Like, I don't think this has anything bad really going for it. It just could have used more, but...
No, you're right. It's not actively bad. It's just it could have used a bit more oomph. But you know what? Having said that, I think all the oomph got funneled into the third segment, which is just not only far and away the strongest of this episode, but up there in contention with the best Treehouse of Horror segments, I think is not too controversial thing to say.
And also one of the least scary in all of Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah, but so very quotable.
This is barely Halloween.
It is too relatable. Like, I hate to reference South Park again in their Simpsons podcast, but along with douche and turd, it's just so relatable politically to pretty much every election in history.
There's a line where they go, now presenting 73-year-old candidate Bob Dole. I'm like, it's only 73. Oh, wow.
Spring chicken over here.
Can you imagine?
But if you could both just go to the messenger, and I have sent you both a video. I'll punch it into the podcast, the audio of it. But if you could just quickly watch this video and give me some live reactions to it as well.
Our country should move forward, not backward. Upward, not forward. And always twirling, twirling, twirling toward freedom.
Jesus Christ.
So, what I just showed them and what you just heard was a video of Kamala Harris giving the famous, our country should move forward, not backward, upward, not forward, and always twirling towards freedom.
Yep.
And so the context for this is that a couple of students from the University of Chicago had, there's a regular scavenger hunt. And in the 2013 scavenger hunt, one of the challenges was to get an elected public official who can give this speech. And so this video was taken in 2013. So 8 years or something before she become vice president. And now as of today, in the running to be the president.
Yep.
And it's just an amazing thing that exists considering the current situation.
That is pretty wild, yeah. Good to know what she was doing in 2013 instead of, committing crimes.
She absolutely butchered the delivery, but my God.
Yeah, I mean, she clearly doesn't know what she's referencing here, and that's fine.
You didn't even say she dreamt of being a baseball. I mean,
I do love that line.
Yeah, so of course we're talking about Citizen Kang here. Oh yeah, again, I forgot to mention the writers.
Have you mentioned them at all in this entire, 6?
I only mentioned Carolyn Omine. Look, to save time, here's all the writers in order of the segments we've reviewed. Carolyn Omine, Ryan Coe, Matt Selman, Ken Keeler, Dan Greaney, and writing Citizen Kang was Futurama hotshot David X. Cohen.
Nice.
Oh, he was S. Cohen on The Simpsons, wasn't he?
That's right. But then in Futurama, they hired another David Cohen who went by David S. Cohen, so he was like, I'm going to be X. Before it was a douchey move to change the name to X. Anyway... So yeah, Citizen Kang, famous. I think probably the best use of Kang and Kodos. Oh, maybe except that first Treehouse. What do you two reckon?
I'd say the first and second, because I even like them when the monkey paw.
True. What do you reckon, PT?
Oh, I'll take this over Monkey Paw, but between the first one, yeah. Just another Twilight Zone episode.
You mean, you don't have the, Sherlock Holmes Victorian England one above this? Oh, wow.
Not this time.
Because Kang and Kodos have been quite an interesting problem that The Simpsons have had with Treehouse of Horror in that they,
And Gump Roast.
And Gump Roast. And The Man Who Became Dinner or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, an interesting problem in that they sort of feel obligated to include them in every Treehouse of Horror where... I think if they didn't, the fans wouldn't have actually given a fuck. And, certainly some Treehouse of Horrors, they only have cameos. And if there has been one that they were in, I certainly probably didn't notice it.
Yeah, but it would be fine to just have a visual reference. There's a Kang or Kodos toy on a shelf in the background. That's enough.
Someone walks past Attack of Space Mutants or something.
Yeah, shoving them into these things is really what becomes the problem after a while.
In the last one, I didn't even notice they were absent until the final 5 seconds of it show
exactly.
up.
Yeah, and even then, that was a fine enough way to include them. But yeah, to be able to include them in a story in this way, I just thought was so good. And especially, to tell this... for this election story, I thought was just really good. And, of course, playing actual Bill Clinton when he's not played by Kang or Kodos. I don't know who picks who. Yeah, anyway, playing Bill Clinton in this one was Phil Hartman.
Oh, nice.
And they got the real Bob Dole, obviously.
Definitely. Actually, one detail that I think Jordan pointed out when we first reviewed this to me, I didn't know this, but Bob Dole had something up with his right hand. I can't quite remember what it was. He might have had a stroke, I'm not sure. But anyway, his hand didn't have proper function, and he didn't like it when people would go to shake his hand because he couldn't give a proper handshake. So Bob Dole would always be carrying around a pen. And you see that in this episode, in that every single scene Bob Dole's in, he's holding a pen. I thought that was just an amazing detail that they, again, didn't zoom in on, just let it be. And for those that know, that know.
Yeah, which is a weird way to get around that, because you're if you meet someone and they put out their hand for a handshake, are you going to really be I'd love to, but I'm holding this pen. Sorry, I just cannot switch.
It was the
brother.
90s. He didn't have a fidget spinner yet.
Yeah. Could have just had a vape. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I honestly don't know where to begin on this one. How about you two? Where should we begin?
The year was 1996, and the United States had an upcoming election.
Yeah, where someone was in the running, Mumbly Joe. Well, I saw him on TV the other night.
This is the largest legacy Bob Dole has, I feel.
Yeah, right. And probably, one of Perot's biggest lasting legacies as well, being involved in this. Yeah.
Yeah, just punching a hat.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Vote for a third candidate and throw your vote away? Ha ha ha. So fucking funny.
Yeah, it
And-
gets more depressing every election.
Yeah.
It just makes me thankful for our system, which not perfect,
No.
but yeah, just the whole preferential voting thing I think is just significantly better than the whole electoral college. Sorry, America.
And far fewer nude conspiracies.
I haven't, just to get rid of half your listeners, in every election for like the last several elections, I've always voted for a third party over the major two. Like,
I mean,
first
yeah,
place.
No, absolutely.
One particular party, obviously, and,
Yeah.
and it's not one nation.
I think you're in good company on that behalf. I think the only time I've voted for a major party was to try and keep what's his face out. He ate an onion. that
Mumbly
dipshit.
Joe. Yeah, but I mean, for those Americans that don't know, look, I mean, majority American listenership, maybe, yeah, you didn't know this, but yeah, the way preferential voting works is like, because yeah, I vote for a third party, I vote for the Greens, but I set my second preference to go to Labour, which is the slightly more left-leaning party, but
Yeah.
they're still kind of right-leaning. So anyway,
Yeah,
I know the
it's-
Greens aren't going to win, but it's going to be the thing where Labour goes, oh, this guy voted for us, but also voted for Greens more, so maybe we adopt some of those policies. They won't,
Yeah,
but that's
that's
the
kind of
theory.
Yeah, for
And
the
of course-
record, like last federal election, my electorate was one of the places the Greens won.
Oh, nice.
But now
Hey.
I've moved to a different place, and I've seen the people around me, and I don't think that's going to happen.
And for clarity as well, Labour is our Liberal party, whereas not the Liberals, which is our Conservative party. Very
Yeah.
easy to remember.
And yeah, even though I vote for Greens, I am living in the seat that current Prime Minister Anthony Albanese holds. So yeah, that
Mumbly Joe, his name is not. Albo is a guy whose name I can barely remember. He's made no impact.
Yeah.
Like
Not
even
at all.
the pieces of shit worse than him, they stuck in my brain.
yeah.
And the pieces of shit
that's
slightly
cool.
better than him, they stuck in my brain.
I think all politicians I can't remember going forward are going to be called Mumbly Joe.
Well, that was actually one watching at this time because, yeah, it's been a while before since I've seen this one, and I'm like, oh, this is where I get Mumbly Joe from. Like, especially when I'm trying to think of a name and I can't think of it, so I think of Mumbly Joe first. Like, Simpsons broke my brain. Did
Yeah.
y'all have any other Simpsons broke my brain moments from this one?
Abortions for all.
Boo!
No abortions for anyone.
Boo!
Abortions for some, miniature American flags for others.
Yay!
And it's that simple.
Yes.
Like this episode is so quotable.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
eternally as well. Like, of course, like, politics looks very different now than it did in 96, but there's just some things
And we have
which are just...
NFTs now.
Yeah, the main determiners of elections and everything. But yeah, the whole like Kang Kodos relationship with Clinton and Dole through this, and like, so we're getting concerned that you're constantly holding your opponent's hand. It's like,
This
Yeah.
is where we also first find out Kodos is the sister.
yeah.
Mhm.
And the little hello with the little squelchy Foley sound effect. Oh, speaking of Foley, one of my favorite Foley jokes in this. So yeah, when Homer gets the spaceship and goes back and wants to tell everybody the truth, crashes the UFO into the White House, and then just you hear just the footsteps of him walking downstairs, and it's just like,
Through the whole building.
I love how quickly they get through that, and just with
Yeah.
the camera pan and Foley, that's just eloquently done and so funny when you think about it.
So a moment that broke my brain is I have a wife and kids, eat them.
Yeah.
I think that every time anyone says that type of thing.
Yeah. No, when Simpsons would subvert the cliches and stuff like that. I
When
love...
The Simpsons was good.
Yeah. And I love the other thing that they do is like, and I think I heard them say this on a commentary, that every time they had Kang and Kodos, they made a concerted effort to make their methods of abduction different each time.
Ah, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I love it how it presents as like a claw machine in this one. Like, instead of the standard beam of light. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And Homer falls out of a claw machine. They have to get him again.
Yeah. Actually, starting out with this episode was a shot that I don't think I appreciated much before, when Homer's yelling at the stupid fish, take the bait or I'll come
Yeah,
down
don't
there.
maybe come down there.
So yeah, the camera's like looking up through the water at Homer to see the UFO come in, and of course you got this like shimmeriness because of the water, and it just looks so good. That is such a good way to introduce that, the UFO into the episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other big moments? I like the news report. America flips a coin.
Yep.
Sorry, Diana.
They sprayed Homer with rum from like the giant gun. Oh, it's so damn good.
Yeah,
again, such a funny way to get him out of the situation. And again, great misdirect joke. Yeah.
One other thing I really like is when Homer goes back into the UFO, which is also barely hiding behind a single shrub. But when he goes inside, he's trying to figure out like a way to get Clinton and Dole out of their tubes.
Mm-hmm.
And Clinton and Dole are having this really good discussion about working together, to defeat all this. And
partisan
save America
politics are tearing our country apart. Yeah.
It's really hopeful and optimistic. I mean, Homer presses the button that looks like it would release the tube, but it sends him into space.
Yeah, we've just spent a half a minute now looking like, they're going to all work together and save the day. Mm-hmm. And then in 1 second, Homer ruins the ending of the episode and we have to do something. It's so well done.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that leads into a Jordan's Anal Corner.
Leading into Jordan's Anal Corner.
So the modesty bands in the tubes that block the Dole and Clinton dongs. It's interesting because when they're doing the shot from behind, their butts are clearly visible. And then from the front, the modesty bands are twice as big. Yeah.
And much higher. Yep.
Yeah. They're inconsistent, but good for the joke to see Dole and Clinton butt. Anyway.
Now you can only see butts on cable.
I think you ruined the episode for me. I'm going to have to give it a failure.
Fair.
For all the wackiness in this one. Oh, God. But the immediacy in which they die in outer space is just, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And the immediacy that Homer crashes into like the Capitol building or whatever it is. Like, he manages to get back to Earth and pinpoint the exact location that they are.
Yeah.
And still does the messiest landing.
Yeah, couldn't work out how to free the president and hopeful nominee.
But, that is what I like. I like that the button does look like, that's probably it. And
yeah.
But when you realize what it's for, it makes it even more obvious.
100%. And again, just on the comic timing of this one, I love how no one realizes, and even when Clinton's like doing his like first speech and still talking in that Kang style, and Marge is just like, that's Slick Willy for you, always
with the smooth talk.
And then like even Kent Brockman with the news report, your planet is doomed either way, and he's like, well, that's refreshingly frank. It's just...
One kind of anal corner I used to have.
One kind of anal corner.
Yep.
When I was a needless kid that wouldn't just accept things like a Jordan. So they use the bio-replicator or whatever it's called to change their appearance physically into Dole and Clinton.
Yeah.
So then Homer rips off masks. And how does that happen?
Their outer layer of flesh is what metamorphosized, not them themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, that's just one of those. Well, they dealt with it quickly enough so we can, but I get what you're saying. I think that's all my notes for this section. How about you guys?
We already talked about
I had a lot. This was a big section.
How they're constantly holding hands. Do we talk about that?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I was meant to look up who Lyndon LaRouche was. Do you guys know who?
I looked him up. He was a politician and conspiracy theorist. I didn't. His Wikipedia page is massive, and I only gave it a quick scroll through. But no, he was even someone that they thought could be president at some point. But he.
Oh, wow.
His Wikipedia started off, and it's like he started off on like the far left and then the far right and then all these conspiracy theories, and he just seems like a character, just a guy that had a lot going on, and I need to study him later. But
God, he's even got sub-articles like LaRouche movement.
His thing is giant. Like, I was trying to read that in like 5 minutes, and I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah, I can't skim this. And like, he died 5 years ago at age 96. That's what I can tell you.
If you like Control F conspiracy, it comes up a few times. But the word nude did not come up, so I don't think there were any nude.
Well, that's what Wikipedia wants you to think.
Yeah.
But and my last is just Homer's line of, what have I done? What am I doing? What do I do? That's good.
When Homer gets kicked out of the debate or whatever, and he's like trying to hold back people with his flag, but he gets thrown out anyway, and they're like, and take your stinking flag. Again, just love that moment. Was that all for you, Diana?
Yeah, although I will just say, because I watched this episode originally as a very young kid, this is the first time I ever heard the word abortion, and I did not know what it meant for many years.
It's just another word for a miniature American flag.
Yeah, like, why do people not want it? Like, people like free stuff.
Yeah.
Except for free school lunches, that's communist.
So controversial to feed children, yeah. No, it is just one of those words you don't expect to pop up into a Simpsons episode. Like, I remember the first time that when they're doing the reality show and Marge says tampons, and I'm like, I didn't expect that word in a Simpsons. There we go.
There we go.
Well, yeah. Also, Bob Dole says we're going to make him a third corn shoot. Didn't expect that in a Simpsons episode either.
Also true.
Anyway, if you want to rank this segment...
Lyndon LaRouche, I didn't expect to hear that in a Simpsons.
Never would have dreamed that one. And if you want to rank this segment and this segment alone, what would you give it? BT?
Like a gold cubic, something. I don't, man, my vibe, my feelings towards rankings are all over the place on this one.
That's all right. These aren't the official rankings. Diana?
I'd give it a cubic.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a cubic. This is up there with some of my favorite segments. And like, it's one of these weird things where they do things at a specific time and date and with particular people. And even though I don't know all the cast of characters, you know, Perot, Linda and LaRouche, there we go. It doesn't change it. There's something, pardon the pun, evergreen about this segment.
Yeah.
One odd thing about this is because this is less a Halloween thing and more like political commentary and satire. This isn't the kind of like segment you put on because, oh, it's Halloween, I want a little scary night. This is like the anti-Halloween Treehouse of Horror almost.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not so
It's only
much
fun when I'm fun scared.
Yeah.
It's an election cycle episode.
Nah, for real. And yeah, weirdly, they've involved the elections in a few of their Treehouse of Horrors. Yeah.
I think the election's probably around that same time.
Oh, true. Yeah. It takes place on November or something usually. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the ranking of this thing. I didn't set that
That's how that goes.
Diana, we'll start with you this time. What would you like to rank Treehouse of Horror 7?
I'm torn because, like, if I give it a certain ranking, I feel like that's too low, and if I give it another one, it feels too high.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
But I'm just gonna go with gold. I think that's the lower of the two for the record, but yeah, no, it's a great episode. It's just not firing on all cylinders.
No, I'm with you there. I'm giving it a gold as well. I think, yeah, last time I gave it a silver as well. I think that was low, and yeah,
it was. You were wrong.
Yeah, not going to be redoing many, if any, other episodes on the index, but this is one that I think warranted it. But yeah, it's the cubic last segment, but it's still not enough to bring it all the way up for me. Because, yeah, the first two, while still good, are kind of weaker ones for me. But, PT, could you please finish it off?
I'm going to sit on like a gold. Yeah, like the strength that last segment does hoist it up. Because, yeah, I think that Citizen Kang is absolutely like a cubic. If someone said they hadn't seen that segment, you'd be like, oh, definitely see that one.
Yep.
Whereas the other ones, you know, I do highly recommend the thing, and I am all over today with words. I'm done. I've spoken enough words.
Late.
I'm out. But you know, it's more fun in the watching rather than, you know, memorable afterwards. And yes, the middle one, yeah, it's fine.
All right. Well, yeah, that equals a unanimous gold, and that's actually bumped it up a little bit and now pushed Treehouse of Horror 33 out of the top 10.
Sorry, I'm just thinking, like, until a few minutes ago, that was in the top 10, but not this. I'm, like, upset. Like that.
Look,
Jesus.
Anyone who makes lists of the best things is always wrong to a degree, as am I.
Except for the person making them. Then, you know, if I make a list, it's perfect. Everyone else is wrong.
That's it.
How it goes.
But, like, a little while ago, IGN made a list of their top Treehouse of Horror episodes, and they put this one at the top, and I'm like, absolutely not. Like, even with us boosting it up a little bit, that's still only making it our 8th best Treehouse of Horror now. Like,
the Shin is, which one's number one?
Equal first.
Is it the Shinning?
Equal first is 2, 4, 5, and 6. So, and yeah, Shinning I think is 6. No, Shinning's 5 because no.
Yeah, Shinning's 5, season 6, I think.
It's it shouldn't be so confusing, but the one number difference is fucking annoying. And I thought that they were going to make 2 Treehouse of Horrors to correct that.
Yeah, didn't they correct that? But
nah.
The hell.
They would have been correcting it in season 30 because at that stage, who gives a shit? But anyway, that about does it for Treehouse of Horror-thon number 10. Diana, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm really happy you gave me a classic one for the first time in a long time.
I'm really happy we got an excuse to do a classic one for the first time in a long time.
What are some other episodes you want to delete from history?
Look, at this stage, the only one that we'll be putting up for redo is, Season 6's Treehouse of Horror V. Again, because that wasn't done under the Treehouse of Horror-thon banner, I think it is worth revisiting. Also, it's probably my favorite Treehouse of Horror.
So why not? We'll go back.
Yeah, but we don't have plans to re-review anything else at this stage. It was just those two Treehouse of Horrors and Marge versus the Monorail because I wanted to. But anyway, Diana, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you on the internet or on paper or whatever?
So people can find me on the internet. I'm on YouTube at youtube.com/Freezer94. Freezer like the appliance, 94 like the numbers, where I talk about handheld video games, and I'm very positive about them. And Elliot's thrilled that I have recently started my Atari Lynx collection, and I do have Lynx videos planned for next year.
Awesome.
I am on paper in a book that just came out called A Handheld History. I think it's called Volume 2, and it covers, I forget the exact years, but I think it's like 88 to 96. It's sometime like that. It's like around the Game Boy, Lynx, Game Gear, that kind of period. And I wrote about some Game Gear games.
Yep, 88 to 95. A Handheld History Volume 2. Yeah.
Look at the expert. You came prepared.
It was in my show notes from the last time you were on. But yeah, our friend Jekyll's on in that book as well. And I just put in my order for that recently.
And I also use Blue Sky as my social media right now because it has fewer Nazis. Hopefully it stays that way.
Mm-hmm.
But you can find me at freezer.bsy.social. I told people about this, and 5 whole people liked this. That's how you know Blue Sky's taking off.
Well, it's funny. Like, we'll put links to all those in the show notes. And yeah, we're trying to do the Blue Sky thing at the moment as well. I had one set up for the index that I post on quite infrequently. But yeah, we started up a new one for our sort of new podcast starring Springfield.
Sort of new?
And yeah, the first post I made on that, where all I did was like hashtag Simpsons and Godzilla, because we're reviewing Godzilla 98 on that. Yeah, that got more.
Wow, they made 98 of those movies.
Yeah, do I have to see 1 through 97 to get that one?
Absolutely. And 0.
Anyway, the
And
post I made
-1.
for that for Blue Sky got more likes and reposts than anything I posted on there for the Simpsons index. So anyway, that's a smooth as butter.
Lots of Godzilla fans on that site, I guess.
Oh, the crossover.
But not
to
real
Simpsons.
Godzilla fans. Godzilla American fans. It's a separate breed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got into Godzilla through Roland Emmerich. Yeah.
I got into Godzilla through the time that someone for my birthday gave me the book version of the Godzilla 98 movie.
Oh, I have a soft
That
spot
would
for
be
those
fun.
weird novelizations.
Yeah.
I remember our friend Danny McCarb previously mentioned in this podcast. He had one for the Super Mario Brothers, the movie, the 93 one. And yeah, they had less of a clue what the script was than the actual script. It is. Have you seen that one, Diana? That novelization?
Yeah, I love the 90s Mario movie. It's great and bad at the same time.
Oh, have you seen or read the novelization for that one, though?
No.
Yeah, if you can find that, I'm sure it's $1 somewhere, but yeah.
My only exposure with Mario, novels is back in the day, we had some of those, Mario Choose Your Own Adventure books that were kind of loosely based on the old Mario cartoons.
Oh, nice. I had one of them.
And I only know because I was, 4 or 5, and I told my older brother to read me a book.
Yeah.
And he was reading this Choose Your Own Adventure book in linear page order, so it made no fucking sense. Because he just wanted to mess with me.
Oh my god,
that
I
is
had
weird.
no idea on the existence of these things. Oh.
Yeah.
The one I had was the one that has Mario in a dungeon with Yoshi looking at him.
Yeah.
All I really remember other than that moment is at one point Mario and I think Luigi wind up inside Yoshi's stomach, and they're talking to some creatures inside of Yoshi, and they say something, and the creatures inside Yoshi are yeah, right, next you'll tell us the world is round. And that was the funniest fucking thing in the world when I was 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I remember. The book is probably garbage, but hey, it stuck with me.
Yep.
No, definitely. Oh, I'm just looking through the wiki of these things now, and this is a treasure trove of fun
So
research.
when you do the book index,
Yeah.
But until then, yeah. So I just briefly mentioned before, if you've been listening for long enough, you've probably heard us talking about starring Springfield on the podcast a bit.
We do it a lot.
Yeah, how it's our Patreon exclusive show. Yeah, we've decided to make it a free podcast. It's got its own free feed, own YouTube channel now. Again, I'll put links in the show notes. But yeah, if you don't remember or haven't heard, yeah, we're reviewing movies that star the cast of The Simpsons. So me and BT sit down and review a movie handpicked from our heroes over at our Patreon page. So, segueing again over, like, if you sign up to the SideQuest Studios Patreon page, you get perks like, picking movies for us to review. What else are we doing over there, BT?
I mean, you get the backlog of starring Springfield, which is 41 episodes of that show?
Yeah, so we'll be releasing that weekly, but yeah, if you jump on the Patreon, you'll basically get the next year's worth of starring Springfield.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Do we cover the original Super Mario movie? You're damn right we do. Who's in that? I can't remember.
Dan Castellaneta.
Yeah, but
does the opening monologue.
So barely.
Yeah.
But yeah, on patreon.com/SideQuest Studios, you can get over 190 exclusive podcasts. That is so many. Mm-hmm. And like one of the other ones we're doing is DVD and Dextras, where we talk about the special features found on the Simpsons DVDs. We were talking about The Shining earlier, and that kind of reminded me of, there's some interesting deleted scenes from The Shining. It
was almost a much worse segment.
Yeah, it was what they cut really needed to be cut, and we were very surprised, and it really led to the idea that that's kind of what's lacking from a lot of modern Simpsons is there's not that process of finding things down and getting rid of the dreck, because, oh boy, did The Shining nearly have a bunch of dreck.
Yeah.
What kind of dreck? Patreon.com/SideQuest Studios, and you can find out with 190 other podcasts.
All right, once again, links to all this in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for joining us for this Treehouse of Horror-thon tonight. Diana?
I'm really happy to be here. Mostly because the 5 listeners you have might migrate over to my YouTube.
Hell yeah.
Hopefully.
And I hope some of your YouTube listeners come over here and check this out.
I would hope so too. 5 people liked it on Blue Sky. I bet one of them might listen.
Yeah, follow us on Blue Sky. Let's try and make that thing happen. And you know,
why not?
Fuck X and FB, and thank you, BT.
X and FB and BT.
Yeah, I could be a social media platform. Give me your information.
Yeah, follow
I don't want your
BT on Blue Tie.
Get out of here, you idiot.
I will. I'm Elliot J. O'Neill, and that's all the mustard in the haunted house.
Oi, 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 oi. Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can also check out our other shows, like Pulp Fury Radio, our scripted fiction podcast, which tells all original stories across a range of pulp genres, and Thrones of Game, where we review Game of Thrones in reverse order. Links to those podcasts and more will be available in the show notes. Now, there's no bonus scenes for this episode, so we'll catch you next week.